Well, hi there, racing fans, and welcome to another edition of Winning Ways, where we've got Bradford Smith Part 2 in your call today. And Bradford, just want to mention, I know he upset a couple of people by saying that he wasn't impressed with Rijntjesfontein. He says that he arrived at the bad time of the year, just after the winter, and they were redoing all the tracks. And obviously when he left it in pristine condition in 2002, it came as probably quite a shock to him after 20 years. But he's certainly very impressed with the place, and you'll be very impressed with what he's done at Qatar in the racing centre he's built there, and we go through that in your call. But we've got a bit of unfortunate news to get through first of all, and let's get finished with woeful Spurs.
Woeful. 84% possession, couldn't break down. Every game they concede first, and they've got to try and play themselves out of trouble. And the difference is Man City have 84% possession, but they create 17 chances. We can't. They put balls in.
How many chances did you create?
I haven't a clue on the full
Probably
game.
5,
I haven't a
if you're
clue.
lucky. I don't think you had more than 3 shots on goal.
I went straight to bed. Now, I can't. You sit with a year with waiting for your season, and we've struggled to beat Aston Villa, who are lucky to be in the league. And then we got completely rolled by Man City. And then we couldn't score against 11 men in the big box.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to play. When Burnley come to town, they're going to do it right the way down. Wolves, they'll all play defensive and leave 2 men up front and try and play that way. And if we can't break sides down, we're going nowhere very quickly.
What about Arsenal?
Going nowhere very quickly. Can't win the league. I've seen them.
We never said they could win the league.
No, but they've always been a big 6 side, and they're going to struggle as well. Man United losing at home was another poor effort. And then Chelsea have managed to get their first win. These are the big 6 I'm talking about. So the two teams
Man
are
City
so
struggled against Bournemouth. They didn't look that great against Bournemouth.
They were still comfortable. 3-1.
They ended up winning, yeah.
3-1.
But when it was 1-1, it looked like it was a game.
Yeah, it was only a game for a few minutes. They missed chances. They're a very good side.
Liverpool?
Played well.
Yeah, they're the best side in the league. They'll win it.
No, Man City will blow them away.
Well, this is what I said. You and Jose Mourinho. Man City first and Man City second side in the top 4. Well, there you go. Okay, well, that was that. What about the Currie Cup?
Well, the Sharks got through. They got through because the Bulls had a player sent off for a throat tackle.
Yeah.
They won by 8 points, and the other side had more than one half with 14 men. James, 14 men is so critical. They've got to look at this rule.
Critical, yeah.
The Wallabies beat the All Blacks when they went to 14 men.
Exactly.
They had 15 next week. They shired the Wallabies, 36
men.
Shired them. And this thing...
What word is that? What shired?
Hit.
Okay.
They hit them for 6.
Club.
No, just shire.
Okay.
And then the other one, James, is that the Bulls, who aren't a good side, they're not a good side, and they gave us a hard game. I think the only guy who came out with a bit of credit was the full-back for Sharks. He played well, but they're not good enough. Ireland aren't good enough. England slaughtered them at Twickenham. They were really...
But Ireland don't need to worry. They've got Rory McIlroy.
Yeah, but they were at Rugby Field. They're going to worry. They're going to worry. The World Cup's less than 3 weeks away. Yeah. They can't do anything.
And then Scotland won. They turned around France a big time when they put in their first team. And I think this is the whole thing. They're all getting themselves set up. Don't take too much into Ireland. Ireland are getting themselves set up for the World Cup as well. They're smart. They'll be up there with the best.
Right. At least they're all playing away from home, because at home Twickenham you don't beat the English. What about the cricket? How did England win the cricket, James? How does that happen?
Yeah, it was just the most amazing display I think I've ever seen on a sports field.
Yeah, fantastic.
How he crafted that 130 runs that he made. When they had 68, when they had 68 to get, they were still saying on the television, Australia need 1 wicket.
Yeah.
And suddenly they turned as England needs 68 runs. And how he ran the second last run to give the guy, and Jack Leach, you've got to take your hat off to him. He played impeccably. He never gave a chance for his 19 balls.
He was more defensive than Newcastle, but he did the job.
Yeah, which Newcastle did too.
That's right.
And that's... I suppose when you're sent in to do a job, you've got to do it.
It helps the Ashes, Jim, 1-1.
Oh, it's fabulous. It makes it really, really exciting. But You know, the Australians, they got to be gutted by it, but I take my hat off to Shane Warne, who's one of the lead commentators there, magnanimous in defeat. They were
You had to be. You must remember,
praise.
one man got equivalent to twice his team score in the first innings.
Yeah.
That puts it into perspective. Those pictures when the Kiwis, I mean the Aussies went for 170 or something, they said terrible score. Then the other team went for 69.
Yeah.
Then the pitches dry out, and the later batters seem to get away with the run. So I suppose it's luck of the draw.
Yeah, but the point is the way Stokes played their spearhead attack man, Lyons, was unbelievable. He just hit him out the attack. He actually hit him off his line. And he crafted the innings so beautifully because he knew when he had like 50 to get, he started hitting some sixes. And then he worked his way through the last 3 or 4 overs to make sure they got the last 18 runs they needed. Then it was 13.
He said he couldn't watch when it was single figures near the non-strikers, and he said I couldn't watch.
But Leach was competent. I mean,
where was Stokes born?
I don't know. He must
New Zealand.
Is he New Zealand?
Came to UK when he was 10. Where was Labuschagne born?
No, he's South African.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically it was the West Indies of South Africa and New Zealanders.
Yeah,
okay, held the whole thing together.
Yeah.
You know, the English and the Australians didn't do much in the Test match at all. Just quickly, Rory McIlroy.
Yeah. Did he win?
66 he shot, and he won the FedEx Cup, which is $15 million to the winner.
Okay.
So that's what I said. The Irish don't have to worry. He's got more money than the GDP.
Yeah, he's got more money than the Irish rugby team. Phew. Yeah, good luck to him.
It was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. So it was a great sporting weekend. We look forward to more great sport coming up, and let's go and see what we got to follow. Right, let's go to Turfentine, and Toby Spies sends out a slew of winners, and he sent out the first timer here in the first race. We thought ran pretty good. Showed a lot of pace, and then let's pick him up at the start. Was ridden by Karen Fisher, the Crusade filly out of Joshua's Girl. There it is, drawn 8 left.
Yeah.
Bred by Thoroughblood, which is France Bronze, and
jumps well. It jumps well, Jim. It gets
yellow
in there.
colours.
I thought Clockstopper might be the right horse to beat and got run over by Catitude. They both show pace towards the outside. And as you said, and Mousse Tor is showing speed, but as you said about Madame Patrice, you can see it in the yellow silks. And just here, from the 6 to the 4, it seems to lose its way a bit.
Completely. You see the horse moves up on its inside. And she's going nowhere, this filly. She doesn't know what it's all about. And a nice balanced ride from Miss Fisher. And she runs on well at the death, this filly, because she's not in the picture here. You've got no chance. She's about third last. And the horse of the white cap running all over her. Now she gets a little wake up and starts to run on well.
Yeah, she runs on very well. The front two having a great tussle. And as you say, it's pegging them back with each ride. So very good debut.
Yeah, she should be able to go on and in the right race next time have a big chance. The next one's probably the most impressive of the 3 to follow. I was amazed. Go and have a look at this, the head-on, and the jockeyship the last 100 meters. Well, I don't know what he is doing. It looked like he's doing his washing with one hand. Raymond Danielson, stand side, third race at Turfentine. 1,160 meters. Let's go and see Viper Jet.
Yeah, there's Viper Jet there, runs. It gets done at the gates, and that doesn't help. Boom. And suddenly it's out of the race, and Chris Van Niekerk colours it's a Pomodoro. The horse that was backed, and people said it's going to win because it really was from a short price from a top stable. There's 3 off the left. A horse called Marshall in Museur's silks, so this famous silks of Khalifa. And watching Marshall, you know, there were a couple of horses showing speed, and I was thinking, how green is Marshall going to be? Bold Ransom and Tokolosh. And have a look on the right of your screen now.
Well, have a look at Viper Jet. He's lost, stone lost, okay? He gets a wake-up call, gets a smack or two, and he starts running on. But then the last 100 meters, Danielson rides him most strangely with his left hand. I mean, this is just, it's not on. I would have thought that something should be said about this, because there's no doubt that this horse would have won if you'd just been kept running him, riding him like this. Here he's going to get the winner. Okay. Now suddenly, watch this. Left hand, left hand, left hand, left hand.
So you think they compromised it?
I mean, there's no way a horse is going to run on to his best like that. He looked like he had the race stone cold. That's my reading of it, and if you watch the head on, it doesn't look good. And
yeah, well, anyway, follow the horse.
Certainly looks like a horse you've got to follow. Let's just have a look at his pedigrees by Pomodoro out of a Jetmaster mare. She was a good mare too, Jet Danza.
Yeah.
I think Alec Laird trained her.
Very good mare.
Or Jeff Woodruff trained her. Jet Danza. It might have been Patricia Devine. She was bred by Claver Flay and owned by Chris Van Niekerk. This horse, put in your black book and don't leave him out. The right race. Make sure he's in the right race. I would think that certainly a 1,400 meters, well drawn in the right type of field, he'll go in. Right, we go to Kenilworth and we have a look same day, Saturday. And Peter Wrench is making a few waves there down there. Nice to see him doing well. And this is a very nice horse. He stepped out in Captain Garrett. Let's go and pick him up at the start.
Yeah, this was a work riders race, and you will see some of them aren't as fashionable or aren't as good a riders as the others. And the horse that I thought would win it is number 10, Warrior Tigers, on the outside. But Peter Wrench, as James has said, he started off very well. He's been around horses all his life. He's got Captain Garrett, which is in black. It's off the pace. Impulse Power showing pace. Winter Assembly, Caper Storms. And as I was watching this race unfold, and I thought the favourites on the outside fence, and the riders sitting very still, the others are going hard. And the horse we found, Captain Garrett, hasn't got into the photo. You'll see it come in the dark colours. And in full power, and here comes the favourite on the outside. I thought, well, this is going to win by lengths, but didn't get much assistance. Whereas Captain Garrett gets assistance and runs a very good third.
Yeah, he's still not in the picture, Captain Garrett, and you'll see him flash up on the outside and get up to run third. There's work riders riding, and you think number 12 and number 10, Warrior Tiger, will improve quite a lot. But there's 7, Captain Garrett, got in the picture late. He's by Captain of All, bled by Kipdrift, out of a Magog mare. So a quite interesting pedigree that.
Yeah.
Out of the very nice speed on the dam side. He'll probably go on and hopefully give Peter Wrench a winner or two. So those are 3 nice ones. We've got very interesting Where Are They Now? Let's pick that up.
Right, Jim and I, we're going to talk you through this, and we've gone, people have asked us, why haven't you shown where horses are, where are they now? And we said,
people ask you that?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
And luckily, Bonsky's got great footage of horses.
Who's Bonsky?
Andrew Bond.
Okay, Andrew Bond.
And he's got some great footage of a horse that you guys will remember called Alimony. Now, this is Alimony. Alimony ran in 4 Emerald Cups. I think he ran 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And James,
the one that he won was the most amazing race.
Yes.
If you go back, he comes from stone last.
That's right.
Absolutely
He used
stone
to
last.
fly.
Yeah, and flies to get up.
He's been doing cross country here, and they've got the camera, and he's doing exceptionally well. He's by Alami, this horse. And the interesting thing about him, he ended up a 9-time winner, James. He had 8 runs on the turf, couldn't do a thing.
Yeah.
They put him on the dirt or the poly or whatever it was at that stage.
No, dirt. It was a Val sand track.
That's right.
Okay, that's what it was.
He was invincible.
Yeah. Well, here he is having a lovely time doing a cross country, and I think Andrew's riding him, which is quite impressive. You know, and it's
back on the turf.
Wonderful to have, you know, these guys that are involved in the racing industry who are proper equestrians.
Yes.
Andrew Bond being one of them, give you a wonderful insight into, you know, what.
Yeah, Andrew and the doctor Sarah have been involved in this for a long time, and they're very good with the horses.
Dr. Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah Doctor in the House. That's where it
Sarah
comes
Doctor
from.
in the House.
Sarah Doctor. That's his wife. And as you can see here, they love this, and they've taken on horses that weren't good and they ended up with this horse here. And he's excellent. And look at him doing his stuff, James. This is, of course, Alimony. You guys will remember this horse. And as I said, it's a bit longer than normal, but we wanted to show you the footage and talk over it.
Yeah, he's by Alami out of divorce court, and he's, you know, just unbelievable that this horse can end up being in a wonderful environment, doing
Loving
something
it.
that's
Loving
useful.
it. Yeah.
And we're going to show quite a lot of horse clips. We've got horse clips coming in from all over the world. If you've got a horse that was on the
Yes.
racetrack and you want to send us a short clip, 30 seconds to a minute, give
Yes.
us a little overview of what's going on with the horse. We've got a couple of horses from Dubai who you'll love.
Yeah, you're gonna
and
love
we've
that.
got Christoph Simeon doing one on a horse that you'll know about. So there are people that are telling us about where they are now. And it doesn't have to be humans. It can be horses. It can be someone that's been involved in racing or something that's been involved in racing. I think great. And
Great
thank you so
idea.
much to Andrew Bond for sending
Yeah.
us through that. Andrew and Sarah
Lovely.
Doctor in the house, as Lap likes to call her. Let's go and see the plum of the week.
Wonder Girls in the all blue. Perfect Air gets hooked out to the middle of the track. Got a lot of love though with a good lead, and Perfect Air's trying to close it down at the 300-meter marker. Got a lot of love though, still by 2.5. Perfect Air is cutting into that lead now. Got a lot of love, Perfect Air and Irish Wonder Girl between the two, but Perfect Air comes to the front to win going away. Second will go to Irish Wonder Girl, Got a lot of love, and O'Keefe.
Well, this filly had the profile to go in. She's was 9-2, which is an amazing price early on Interbet, and you could have ended up getting 5-2, 3-1 even at the death on Perfect Air. She did look like the right horse. She's by Dynasty out of a Jalad mare. She's been running against some much better horses than this, and she looked like she is set up by Dennis Dreyer and Sean Veal for this race. Lamas Kral owned her and bred her. And she obliged as far as the podcast was concerned.
It was the plum of the week. James had 2 runs on the poly, first and second. Everything looked set up for her.
It was absolutely a perfect profile for her. And they backed other horses in the race, which was hard to believe. She ended up beating, I think, the Joburg horse. And not often Joburg horses get beaten when they come down here. But there you go. That's the plum of the week. We're going to go and have a look at current affairs.
Hi, my name is Gregory Blank. I'm an ex-stockbroker and involved in private equity and stock markets. But my passion for the last 40 years has been horse racing. I initially started off as an owner. We then got into breeding and then into trading. And obviously by default became a punter. The most exciting part, apart from needing as a winner, is having a winning bet at the same time. Obviously that's not always easy. But with the help of Interbet and their transparent information, it makes trading and betting a lot easier. I've had over 38 Group 1 winners and continue to try to strive for that thrill of having a winner. The thrill of owning a horse and winning a race is indescribable. But if they're serious about it and serious about punting, is to get a leg in and really follow Interbet to the max. It's the only way they can be ahead of the game.
Hi there, racing fans. Another edition of Current Affairs, where we've got races, international races to show you, and we've got some local news to talk about, Jim. And the Yorkshire Oak, the Juddmonte International, and great horses stepped out.
Yeah, are we going to watch those first and then talk about?
I think so.
Let's start off with Enable, because
they're all at York.
Yorkshire Oaks. They're all at York. We start on Tuesday with Enable. Let's go and pick her up and watch how she wins the Yorkshire Oaks and made it 10 Group 1s in a row.
And they're all in, all four fillies, all set, and away they go for the Darley Yorkshire Oaks. And Frankie was away to a flyer there on Enable, very quickly into stride, and she's going on by a length or two from her stable companion Lati Dar. Then there's a couple of lengths, maybe a touch more, back to Magical, who races in third place. And South Sea Pearl, whatever her role was meant to be, it isn't the one of a pacemaker, because she's last of the quartet now as they race over on the far side of the Knavesmire here. And Enable is going to make this a proper test as she leads Lati Dar by a couple of lengths, going across towards and past the 9 furlong start there. Magical racing just a length and a bit behind Lati Dar in third place for Ryan Moore. South Sea Pearl in the white cap, Shamie Heffernan, last of the quartet as the Darley Yorkshire Oaks field of 2019 make their way down then towards the final 7 furlongs of the race. And the 9-time Group 1 winner, Enable, striding out in front from Lati Dar, who's unbeaten in 2 starts here at the Knavesmire. Racing in third then is Magical, Enable's old rival, and then 3 lengths back to South Sea Pearl, who's in 4th and last place. Going past the halfway point then, past the 6 furlong marker, and Frankie out in front here on board Enable as they race down the side of the course. Will Buick on Lati Dar racing in 2nd place, followed by Magical and Ryan Moore, who's just a length behind her, and then still looking on as they begin to turn into the home straight is South Sea Pearl. So straightening up for the judge here now, and it's Enable who leads them in here, going to the 4 furlong marker. Lati Dar in the pink jacket within about a length. Frankie just looking between his legs there to see what the others are doing. Magical's getting into contention on the inside, but this powerfully built mare Enable striding on with purpose, and already Lati Dar is off the bit. Magical on the inside then is trying to get a little bit closer, but Frankie seems to have things well under control here, approaching the final 2 furlongs. Now he's asking Enable to engage top gear to see off her old rival Magical. Coming under a bit of a drive here, Enable, but she's responding as she always does inside the final furlong and a half. Enable holding Magical, who seems to have no more to give yet again, and once more Enable will see off Magical and gain her 10th Group 1. 13 out of 14. The Arc is next. Enable.
Well, there we go. You heard him say the Arc is next, where he's going to bump a horse that we're going to show later in the program.
We're going to show it now?
Yeah, that's later in the program.
Oh, okay.
It's not before now, Jim. Keep up. And I just think Enable looked very fit, looked very well, has a much better prep than it did last year. And looks...
Yeah, it had a shocking prep last year. It had one run on the poly track.
Yeah, on the poly.
For the Arc.
She looked fit. There's 10 Group 1s in a row, 13 out of 14. And one thing about our friend Khaled Abdullah, Juddmonte, they put their money in, but they when Frankel went to stud, along comes horses like this, you know.
Yeah, well, the amazing thing is Frankel's full brother, Saad, the Travis winner.
Is that right, eh?
Yes.
Full brother?
Yeah, Frankel's full brother. Noble Mission, okay. Saad Code of Conduct, which won the Travis on Saturday.
They also had that pacemaker, what's it called, Bullet Street or something at...
Bullet Train.
Bullet Train, well done, Jim.
He's at stud in Australia.
Is he? Yeah,
well, he shuttles to Australia, Bullet Train. But Frankel's full brother, Noble Mission, who's been under the radar, had code of conduct, won the Travis. Anyway, that's news for as far as that's concerned. But here is the biggest danger to Enable in the Arc. Juddmonte International,
great
and
race.
This horse beats the best grass horse in the world. Let's go and see Japan.
And they're set, they're off and racing, and away they go. And King of Comedy just left the stalls a little bit awkwardly there as they race then through the first furlong, but the best starts were made by Circus Maximus and Crystal Ocean in this 2019 Juddmonte International, with El Arcam taking a bit of a hold in third, Japan racing fourth, King of Comedy and Cheval Grand is next, followed then by Regal Reality, and the 2 greys at the back of the field, Lord Glitters ahead there of Thundering Blue, who was produced to finish third in this race 12 months ago. And at the moment, there's probably about 8 lengths between first and last as the runners across the far side approach the 7 furlong marker here. Circus Maximus from Crystal Ocean, only about half a length between them. A length and a half away in third place then is LR Cam, followed then on the outside by Japan. King of Comedy is running quite freely in the middle of the field with Cheval Grand on the outside of those. Regal Reality in the red jacket, blue cap is next. Lord Glitters on the outside of Thundering Blue as the runners head down the side of the Knavesmire now and inside the final 5 furlongs here. So they're about to straighten up for the judge in the 2019 Juddmonte International, and it's Circus Maximus that leads them in here. With Donica O'Brien ahead there of Crystal Ocean in second, James Doyle ready to pounce. Then in third on the outside is Japan with LR Cam pushed along on his inside. These two having a decent battle. A length and a half to 2 away then to King of Comedy. Regal Realities next. Cheval Grand is under pressure. Lord Glitters and Thundering Blue with quite a bit on as they race on down towards the final 2 furlongs here. Crystal Ocean now is being produced to take over. Crystal Ocean is the meat in the O'Brien sandwich at the moment. On the inside, weakening Circus Maximus. Japan on the outside. Crystal Ocean digging deep as he always does. King of Comedy, Regal Reality trying to mount a challenge as well. Crystal Ocean just wilting out in front as Japan comes back to him. Japan and Crystal Ocean. Crystal Ocean responds on the inside. Japan on the outside. It's a tight one. Japan may have just got there.
Wow. It's the second battle he's had to get run out of it. I think it was Enable who beat him the other day in a tough race. So this is a tough horse, Crystal Ocean, Jim.
Yeah, but remember, Japan's a 3-year-old. He's a big improver. Okay?
Yeah, that's
and
right.
My long-term prediction, he's going to give Enable the most to fear in the Arc.
I think you're right.
that you take a line through Crystal Ocean, you'll see this horse is a big runner. Then we move on to probably the most impressive winner at the whole York meeting, and this was Batash winning the Nunthorpe. This was a most amazing effort. Let's go and see him from the start. Batash murders them.
That's it. Nunthorpe Stakes field leave the gates. Fairy Down was a little bit slow out. Copper Knight is one of those that jumps well with Ornate, and Batash jumped very swiftly and is tracking the leaders over on the far side. Copper Knight up the centre. Soldier's Call splits the difference. El Astronautes, White Face, they are the front rank 10 sovereigns. Towards the near side in the purple cap, same jacket, white cap of So Perfect. Midfield for Rumble in the Jungle, who's just ahead of the grey Garrus. Mabs Cross flat out at this stage. Noseband far side in company with Fairyland. Soldier's Call in the grey jacket. Batash cruising up there, has got to the front a long way from home. 2 furlongs to go. Batash is the first to commit. Leads from Soldier's Call. 10 sovereigns under strong pressure at this stage. Mabs Cross is staying on stoutly. Out in front, Batash bidding to spread eagle the field. Is 2 lengths, 3 lengths clear here in the Nunthorpe. Batash is leaving them for dead. Soldier's Call, Mabs Cross. The hoodoo is laid. The Batmobile, kapow in the Norfolk. Batash has won them.
Wow. That was quick, James. That's how you win a race.
Well, that's the quickest time since Desjeux 29 years ago.
Wow.
55.9 seconds.
Quick track.
For 5 furlongs. And he came from in the pack. He was in there with them. Charlie Hills, Jim Crowley. This horse loves this track, and I think that he's a really awesome sprinter, and wonderful to see him when he's by Dark Angel.
What do you win by 5 1/4? It's amazing,
whatever it was,
Jim.
it won very easily. You know, ran second was Soldier's Call, which is the best horse in our man Archie Watson's stable.
Okay.
So nice to have Archie run second. I think
second,
they were
Group
thrilled
1,
with
yeah.
their run. Mabs Cross ran 4th. You know, she'd been around forever.
Yeah.
Then we move on to what was one of the great efforts of the whole York meeting. Stradivarius needed to win this race to win the £1 million bonus. Again.
That's right.
He won it last year.
Yeah.
Let's go and see Frankie Dettori on Stradivarius.
They're off. Jumping away over 2 miles for the Group 2 Weatherby's Hamilton Lonsdale Cup. Falcon 8 in the noseband dropped out last of the quartet. DXB making the early running, but has got company from Il Paradiso, and the pair will virtually match strides under the judge and into the first turn. And they've dashed through the first furlong and a half, 3 or 4 lengths ahead of Stradivarius. Frankie wanting no part of the early gallop, and he races just ahead of Falcon 8, last of the quartet. Taking this sweeping left-handed bend towards the back straight, and DXB now striding on. Around about a length clear to Il Paradiso, and the early tempo slackened. Stradivarius 2.5 lengths away in third, and a further length and a half to Falcon 8. 3 furlongs behind them now, and in single file they make their way into the back straight. DXB under current champion jockey Silvestre de Sousa, leading them to the end of half a mile, tracked by Il Paradiso and Wayne Lawton in the blue and orange jacket. Stradivarius, the white-faced chestnut under Frankie Dettori, looking to make it 9 straight cup wins in a row, and seeking to supplement his win in this race 12 months ago, in turn followed by the Dermot well-trained Falcon 8 under Oisin Murphy, last of the 4-strong field. They've gone through the 10 furlong point, and DXB continuing to dictate from Il Paradiso, just over 2 lengths away to Stradivarius, and then Falcon 8, approaching the halfway point now of the Weatherby's Hamilton Lonsdale Cup. DXB, who had some early competition from the lead from Il Paradiso, but has been allowed to dominate after about 2 furlongs or so in front, with de Sousa glancing in behind, just asking for a little bit more now from DXB, asking him to up the ante as they come inside the 7. Il Paradiso track again, Stradivarius waiting in the wings, and Falcon 8 remains last of the 4. Heading now for the final 3/4 of a mile and beginning the swing back towards home. DXB by a little over a length. Il Paradiso sitting on his tail, slipstream by Stradivarius. No move yet from Falcon 8, and DXB going to ensure that the gallop through the last half mile is a stern test here. He heads inside the 5 and to the crown of the bend, leading Il Paradiso, Stradivarius, Falcon 8 being shaken up at the back of the field. DXB off the last part of the turn, heading down the centre of the course, passing the half mile, 2 lengths ahead now. Il Paradiso driven firmly in pursuit. Frankie now just beginning to gently squeeze away, humouring Stradivarius into it. DXB firmly ridden, the white-faced Il Paradiso challenging on the left. Frankie still slipstreaming on Stradivarius. Falcon 8 is outpaced, running on down now towards the last quarter mile. Il Paradiso pokes his white nose in front. Stradivarius switched to the left to deliver his challenge. DXB fighting on under pressure on the far side. Still 3 with a chance, but here goes Stradivarius inside the furlong. Stamina kicking in, and he surges to the front from Il Paradiso and DXB. Stradivarius inside the last 100 yards. Another virtuoso performance from the supreme stayer, and it's Stradivarius again. Tight for second between...
Paul, you on there?
I'm just looking at DXB. James, this horse, they keep giving him £3 to get closer and closer. Mark Johnson's horse, Gutsy. He's the next big stayer.
Oh, he's old as well. He's not a young horse anymore. You know, this horse is I think that he's older than Stradivarius. Stradivarius is a 5-year-old. Oh, he's a 4-year-old only, DXB. There you go. What about the 3-year-old, El Paradiso? No, he's you know.
Yeah. Everywhere that the big horse is, he goes in and contests with them, eh?
Well, yeah, you run into a horse like Stradivarius, not easy. And Frankie, you see how clever he was. He made sure he didn't go on the outside of DXB and give him something to aim at, to run back at.
Yeah.
He switched him in and made sure he got away from DXB to go and win the race. I mean, Frankie is a fantastic.
So $1 million
he's a
bonus
fantastic
for
job.
Bjorn Nielsen, $1 million bonus.
Yeah, Bjorn Nielsen found his love for horse racing through Sea Cottage.
Yeah, that's right.
In South Africa. And he was just an amazing man. Just finishing off lap.
Yeah.
2-year-old barrier trials start in Australia next week at Rose Hill and Warwick Farm next Monday. A couple of the new sires, Jungle Cat, Churchill, Real Steel are new sires in the block in Australia. And the entries close for the Magic Million sale this week. That's the Gold Coast, January Gold Coast sale.
That's when Frankie will be in town.
Yeah, Frankie's going to be there.
Yeah.
Okay. What else was there? Mike Clements won the big race in Singapore, ran first and second. and his horse ran the 1200.75 off Rocket Man's course record.
That's very
So
good.
it ran a pretty good race, this horse. And Roaring Lion died,
Yeah,
which
Roaring
is
Lion, yeah.
terrible news because he really looked like he might be, you know, a horse we'd love to have some of his foals. He's got a crop, but he travelled to New Zealand to Cambridge Stud, got colic on the way or when he arrived there, and it's always the same. I was chatting to Mike the other day about it. As soon as you change the environment, change your food, change something with a horse, that's when they
tougher,
get colic.
yeah.
So it's very hard to stomach for those guys, the Qatarians who are involved with it. But let's call it a day, and we'll see what Bradford Smith's got to show us as far as Qatar's concerned. Have a great week's racing. Well, you will have remembered from last week's show that we were chatting to Bradford Smith, who's a track manager at Qatar, about his beginnings in racing, where he was, how he got where he got to. And we're obviously going to carry on now with where Bradford is now and what he did in Qatar, because it's a phenomenal project that you ended up exposing yourself to as a guy who'd run a little training center in South Africa. Was it an undertaking that was daunting to you, Brad?
It started off daunting, but I had a very good advantage. You know, I worked a lot with Derek Johnson, who was the civil engineer, done most of the tracks at Rijksfontein, and I think he done a lot of tracks throughout Turffontein, all that. And he taught me everything I needed to know about engineering, about stabilizing bases, drainage systems. So I went there with a lot of knowledge to start with.
All right, so you get there now, and you've got a piece of desert. Okay, is that all that there was there?
Well, there was a previous track, which was the old track that they'd had there for about 30 years, and they decided to build a new track.
Was it a sand track?
Yes, they just raced on sand, no irrigation, no nothing, just dust. And so they decided to build a new track, I suppose, to follow Abu Dhabi and Dubai. And they closed down, they stopped racing in 2000, and they had the 2 years to build a new track and complete it. The civil works was very difficult to do because of the rocks and the stones and the grading, and
There are no rocks in the desert.
it's solid rock. You know, there's only sand on top, everything's rock.
Underneath that?
There's no drainage. Your rocks, even if you build a house there, you have to dig down 3 or 4 meters in rocks to get a stabilized base and start your house up. So even with your tracks and your grandstands, you've got to dig down until you get to a solid base. You can't dig anything there with a pick and shovel. You actually need machines to dig the foundations, to dig the drainage systems and bulldoze. It's not like there's sand there. And all your sand is imported. Most of the sand that they use in the landscaping and on the tracks is desert dune sand.
Did you know that this was going to be the case when you started?
No, I never knew it was the case, you know. And okay, it worked well on the grass track because it drains well. They put in a nice blanket drainage system with your stones, your cut-off drains, your geotextile fabrics up top, and your dune sands. They planted the grass. But the biggest problem we had, and of course it was mixed with fibers, being dune sand for the first year, it moved a lot, and all your fertilizers drained a lot. So it was, and it took about 2 to 3 years to get the proper sort of organic material in the soils to stabilize the track. That was the difficult part. And then on the grass, well, let's go back to the sand track. We'll start at the beginning with the sand track. We had the same problem. We had to grade, do the earthworks, do the civil, and bring in dune sand. And the only way they could stabilize the dune sand was to put clay in. So obviously they put in 20% clay to stabilize the dune sand so it doesn't move, so you could maintain it. But if it rained, you couldn't work because this clay, the water wouldn't drain.
Yes, which was a problem we had like at a place like Newmarket.
Yeah, so fortunately that was the bad side. But on the good side is we don't get much rain. So if you miss a day's work, it's not a problem. And we do train from 2 in the morning till 9 in the morning, and then in the afternoon from 4 o'clock at 8 o'clock at night. So we have 2 training shifts. So if you missed the morning shift, you could come in the afternoon and train, or vice versa. Not the best surface to race on. What we done is, because we had a lot more horses a few years later, we actually decided we were going to race on sand racing. And we had 2 years of racing, and it was very good. We never had a horse breakdown. Our biggest problem was the watering, the climatic conditions. And the funny thing is, we look back, Abu Dhabi built exactly the same track, built by the same company. They decided to race on their sand track. 2 years later, after the second race, they cancelled racing and they never tried racing again.
Why?
Because it was everything's about the maintenance of the track. You know, you can't just say we're going to go race. You've got to understand, we train on different surfaces, a deeper surface, and we race on firmer surfaces. And, you know, depth to me is not a problem as long as consistent.
Yes.
And you can't water sand tracks with irrigation system because they're never consistent. So we water, and consistency is what helps.
That's it. Just talking about that irrigation. The problem with irrigation systems is prevailing winds and all types of things.
Yes.
Isn't that what makes it difficult to irrigate?
It makes it very inconsistent because your irrigation system is normally built in a Y.
Yeah.
So this sprinkler is here and this sprinkler is here. The opposite sprinklers are opposite.
Yeah.
But what happens is, if you have any wind at all, and you're irrigating from both sides, you're going to get more water on the one side, and because your sprinklers don't overlap properly, you're going to get gaps in between the sprinklers.
So you get drier.
So you get inconsistent. It doesn't matter if it's inconsistent across, but as long as consistent the way the horses are going, and you can't get consistency with sprinklers. Fortunately, with the grass track, you stop watering the day before races, so everything dries out, the water drains through. But on a sand track, you're watering 2 hours before they're draining. So it's not a very good system. I would never use it.
Okay, let's go back and have a look at what you started with, because you sent us a few pictures, and we'll get up these 6 pictures here, and you can have a look at what those were all about. So these are dated. The top left-hand picture, what is that? That's 2002.
Yes.
Is this what you found there?
This, if you look on the right-hand side, this is the geotextile fabric that was put above the drainage system. Your dune sand on the other side was put above this, with the fibers and everything. And as you go down, you'll see they're basically just showing different stages and different stages and different dates, because in Qatar, we have to have these project meetings every week, and you have to give a progress report. So these dates are just progress reports on a weekly basis. So basically, you're going to see the same picture for about 6 months.
Okay.
So but that is how it started.
So you were given this piece of land which there was a race track on, and they said to you, Bradford Smith, you've arrived, you're the track manager, build it. And you said they started with the French guys. As
well,
you said,
what happened? The French company called Gregory International had drawn up the plans and everything. So I went according to the plans. I would have disagreed with the drainage system because we have no rain there. So I think it was a lot of wasted money. Yeah. If you look at your newer surfaces that they build like tar roads, and they put the polymers on top of the tar roads, and they rely on the cameras on these roads and the tracks to take the water off. They don't rely on drainage through the thing. So the new system where they rely on the top, we could have done this in Qatar because of the minimum amount of rain we have. We didn't need to have these big blanket drainage systems. And the biggest problem with these drainage systems, we always seem to put about 400 millimeters to 500 millimeters of soil on top of our blanket drainage. And we maintain our tracks 3 inches deep, and we create this, what we call a pad. It's not a base.
You're talking about sand tracks?
Yeah, sand tracks, even grass.
Yeah.
Compaction occurs 4 inches below the surface, whether it's grass or sand. Your grass track will compact 4 inches below the surface. So will your sand tracks.
How do you do away with that?
The way you relieve compaction of the grass track is a vertidrain.
Vertidrain,
I vertidrain every month.
Yeah.
It's not a seasonal thing. It should be done every month.
Okay.
We in South Africa, we're inclined to do it only when we do our spring treatment.
Yeah.
So we're doing it once a year. That was when I left here. I don't know if it's changed. Now the same applies to a tram track. A lot of people seem to think, well, the horses are hitting the base. They're actually not hitting the base. I refer to it as a pad because when you're putting down 1,000 pounds per square inch on a track, that track gets compacted. And I mean, you'll know. You know when they build tracks. You feel this. You feel this base, or what do you want to? You call it a base train. Oh, we need to top up. Meantime, every time you top up, the base just gets further and further away. Yes. Instead of just mixing the original layer that was there. To keep the consistency, we just keep on topping up, and it's the same when we top this grass tracks. We never use the same soil, so we create different layers in our grass track, and these layers become a problem after the years.
Yeah, and just talking about that pad, that pad is there. Do you break up the pad?
I break up my track every month, once a month.
Once a month. What do you go in with?
We've got these rotavators. No, we've got special rotavators. I'm sure every club in South Africa should have them.
Yeah.
We've got a 5-meter one. It takes us about an hour to rip up the track, to mix the top from the bottom. We train at 4 inches, and we race at 2 inches. Okay. So in the morning we train at 4 inches, in the afternoon we race at 2 inches. But we break up that. We go in 350 millimeters once a month, and we bring the whole top to the bottom.
How much is 350 millimeters? If you that much?
Yeah, and you're racing, your pad is
Yeah. So you're actually making sure that you have a consistent surface all the way through.
All the way through, yeah.
The horse's foot hits the ground. You don't want it to be firmer at one point than it is at another point.
You know, James, most of the tracks that I've worked off and that I've seen, I think people are very scared to mix it because they say it's going to be deep tomorrow.
Yeah.
But you know, when you mix a track, straight away you water it and you roll it.
Yeah.
Because you've got the whole day.
Yeah.
You roll that track with a roller, water it, roll it, get it back to compaction, so when your tractor comes tomorrow, you'll only go in this deep, and you'll find your horses will only go in that deep.
Yeah.
You know, you can put a Conskild in a sand track, this deep, and you can ride your car on it, and your tyres will only go in this deep. And the same applies if you roll it, your tyres will only go in this deep. Whether you've put a roller on a Conskild on, if you drive your car across it, you'll see the tyre marks of the car stay the same depth.
Okay, so now you built that place. Let's have a look at what it looks like today. We've got a whole lot of pictures, and we'll just talk us through each picture as they come up on the screen. That's obviously a picture of your grandstand.
That's the backstretch and the sand track next to it. What happened is when we first built this place, we built the grass track and the sand track. There was nothing inside. We didn't have a grandstand the first year we raced. And we didn't have a tunnel, so what we done is we decided in phase two of the track we had put in a tunnel because I didn't like these crossings on my grass track. So when we put in the tunnel, we decided, okay, we're going to landscape the inside and put in a 1,200 meter trotting track and a 400 meter trotting track. And that was part of phase two, which you'll see later on in the pictures. You can see them.
Okay, let's move on and see
our grass track. What we do is we race on Bermuda grass like most of the coastal areas in South Africa. But the problem is the Bermuda grass doesn't recover in the winter. So after the first year I was there, I went on to a ryegrass. I looked into ryegrass. And we now overseed our tracks with the ryegrass in November. Okay. We don't stop racing, we overseed the tracks. Yeah. And while the seed is growing, you've still got the thing. And then we race until March, when the temperatures start getting a bit hot again, the winter grasses start dying off and the Bermuda grass starts growing. So you've always got grass on your track.
Green grass.
Green grass, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that is absolutely magnificently green. All right, so now that gives you a look of the infield, which looks gorgeous. What have you got in there in the infield?
Well, we've got shrubs, we've got trees, we've got flowers, we've got sand areas. If you can give me another picture a bit closer. another one from another view. I'd be able to show you where
Right,
the
well,
top-
that's a backstretch. That's your.
This is a new bend, the new bend I've built this year. I've now built a far bend onto our track,
Yeah.
which we completed a month ago. And
So
it's ready
you have
for
two
our
bends
new
into the straight.
Eh?
Two bends into the
Yeah.
straight? Yeah.
What happened is, when I first went to Qatar, 95% of the horses were Arabs.
Yeah.
And what's happened over the years with Qatar sponsoring the Arc de Triomphe and the Goodwood festivals, a lot of our trainers have now gone big into thoroughbreds. So we have more thoroughbreds than we have Arabics. And we've only got a 380 meter straight, which I don't see as a problem, because you ride a waiting race. If I watch Mauritius, and Gravel, their straight is a lot shorter than ours.
Yeah.
But for some unknown reason, our jockeys think they've got to start moving from the 800 meters around the turn to have a chance. But anyway, that's their opinion. So we've built the extra turn for them. And we'll start racing in it next season.
Okay, so let's get see if we've got another
If
picture.
you can get I think there's
those pictures are very interesting. What is this? This when you started?
Well, this is when we started, when we had planted the grass. Of course, they had no equipment, so we used to cut the grass with lawn mowers and push mowers, believe it or not. That's how...
You've been through it all. Well, okay, so we've seen now basically what you built from the beginnings, and it's a phenomenal operation.
Yeah.
And what do they race for? Is there stake money? What's it?
There's the stake money is very good. There's no gambling, and it's not about the money, it's all about prestige with the sheikhs. You know, these sheikhs don't need money, it's all about the prestige, it's not about the money.
So they want a perfect surface to race on, sand and turf.
Yes.
They bring horses from all over the world.
We've only started international racing the last 3 years.
Yeah.
We've started, I think the first international meeting we had, I think Michael de Kock won the Derby.
Yeah.
He did it in the Derby. That was, I think, our first year.
It was very complimentary about your track.
And so now I think we're into our 4th season of international races. We had the Japanese for the first time this year. They seem to be a lot stricter on the quarantine side and the cleanliness of their floats and how we handle things. And we built a quarantine station about 4 years, quite a small one, but now what we've done is our quarantine station was behind our existing complex, so the horses had to go through the stable. So now what we're doing this year is we're building a quarantine station right next to the tunnel, so the quarantine horses go straight into the tunnel, and because we don't allow them to mix with the horses.
And you're telling me that, you said earlier that they train in the morning and then in the afternoon. Are those the same people training the same horses, or do they have different people?
What we have is, we have a lot of our big trainers that train in the morning, but we have a lot of our big trainers that train for sheikhs and smaller trainers that work for the government in the Olympic Committee or whatever it is, and they come and train in the afternoon, and some of our small trainers. Quite a lot of our trainers are poorer trainers. We don't train for wealthy people. They can't afford the groom. So what happens is the club will give you 1 groom for every 5 horses you've got. If you want a work rider, you pay for your own work rider. So a lot of the poorer trainers have no work riders. So they'll train in the afternoon so they can use the bigger trainers' work riders in the afternoon to work for them. So they try to help everybody. They subsidize the trainers there a lot.
And Qatar is having the World Cup in 2022, I think it is.
Yes, correct.
How's it going there with the developments? Because we now nearly, 2 years away.
The development and the infrastructure is amazing. The underground railway system, the football stables. You know, unless you've actually been to Dubai and Qatar and places like that and seen how these people can move mountains, what they do is astronomical. The money they have is just, it's just frightening.
The football stadiums, they're building them from scratch?
All of them have been from, well, I'm lying. Our biggest stadium, which we've had there for the Asian Games, all they've done is they've revamped it and made it bigger and made it higher and put up all the big, but when we had the Asian Games in 2008, we built the football stadiums and athletic tracks, and we built all these endurance tracks. So that stadium was always there, but the whole infrastructure, the roads have changed. There's highways, everything just...
And an underground, what's the underground come from?
Underground tunnel.
Where does it come from?
It goes from the airport to all the stadiums, to all the different suburbs. Everything goes to all the suburbs, so most of the people be travelling underground to all these areas.
What about air conditioning and that type of thing?
Air conditioning is not a problem from there. You know, the problem was when Qatar wanted to hold the football, it was normally in July, August, and the people felt that 48, 50 degrees would be a problem, so they managed to get them to move it to December. But the problem, these people actually build stadiums. Even today, we play soccer in the summer, it can be 50 degrees outside, and that stadium's 20 degrees inside, and it's got no roof on. It's incredible.
That is incredible.
You know, it's just, what they do is phenomenal. But of course, money talks, James.
But Brad, you look back at this little lot now, and you've got to be pretty proud of yourself to have built this track, which is as world renowned as one of the best tracks around.
You know, James, I look at myself, I've worked very hard. I spend, on an 8-hour working day, I spend 20 minutes a day in my office. I'm never off site. I'm always with my staff. In the morning, it's the landscaping. When the landscaping also finished, I'm on the tractors, I'm on the tracks, and I spend all my time with my staff. You know, I think somewhere along the line, we seem to miss things when we don't watch our staff. You know, we just let them ride tractors and think.
And how is your staff? All trained by you?
All my staff have been trained for me. When I first got there, I had 40 Egyptians. They all lasted with me for about 3 months, and I got rid of them because they were too lazy. And then I employed all my staff. 90% were youngsters from Nepal. And I've trained all of them, and I've got 2 Pakistani supervisors. One does the landscaping and one does the track, but they've all been trained by me.
Okay, final question. Grass or sand? What do you prefer?
You know, sand track's easier to maintain than grass, but you've got to give preference to the horses. We have horses that prefer grass and horses that prefer sand. I think it's to find the right mixture and the right maintenance for our surfaces that we run, James. You know, if you look at America, they've been racing all their life on dirt tracks and that. But you can't build those tracks in here. We've proved it at Reinstein. We put the wood fibre track there. It never worked. It never suited our conditions because our trainers like to work on deep tracks and they like to race on firmer tracks. Where in America and all these poly tracks, they're all firm. You know, a lot of people are found in South Africa don't like these firm surface.
To workhorses, especially.
You know, if they see the horse go half-inch deep, they think the track's hard. You can see that tracks that move, but I think it doesn't matter which track you work, a heavy one or a half-fast one. You're going to get different injuries from different tracks, so you're always going to have injuries. So I think we've just got to improve the way we maintain our facilities.
You've been a font of information. You're a credit to South African racing, and we wish you all the very best, and hopefully you'll be able to come back here and consult and help some people here.
There was one question you wanted to ask me, which you forgot about, the movable false rail.
Oh, yes. What about the...
We never race on the same place for 2 meetings. We start off with our first 2 meetings on the fence, the 3rd and 4th meeting 3 meters off, the next 2 meetings 7 meters off, and then we go back to the inside 1 meter, 2 meter, 4 meters. So,
do you have a false rail in the straight that has a cutaway?
No.
So actually the rail is all the way around at that distance. So what you've got to do is you've got to put up a whole new rail.
We put up a whole new rail. It takes 12 of my staff 2 days to put up a whole new rail.
No, I don't think they want to do that amount of work here.
You know, you can put rails on wheels today. Where they just move them out.
Yeah.
You know, I went and consulted in Cyprus 3 weeks ago to give them a bit of advice.
How was that?
They're a long way behind South Africa. And of course, they also put in these synthetic tracks, the American tracks. Yeah. The previous manager started the American Santa Anita, the best track. They put them in 6 years ago. And what have they done? They've just covered it up with other sand because they didn't like the American dirt tracks. You know, Dubai has the same problem. Dubai always wants to put the American dirt tracks in because they want the American horses there. If they don't have the American dirt track, the American horses won't go there.
Yeah.
So the tracks are designed for.
So you've been fantastic. You've had a holiday in South Africa. You enjoyed yourself?
Not much of a holiday. I'm doing a lot of traveling to find out if we must come back, because I'm now 65. We have to look at retiring somewhere, so we're looking all over South Africa, from Cape Town right up to the Eastern Transvaal, right up to... And we have seen so far 2 nice places, Hermanus and Kenton-on-Sea, which look very nice.
Well, we really hope that one day you'll be able to consult back to the South African horse racing industry with everything you've learned. As I say, you're an absolute credit to South Africa as a course manager, and when we look at where you came from, it's absolutely phenomenal. Pleased to be been involved with you, Brad, and thank you so much for coming and joining us.
Thank you, James. And there was one other thing. If it wasn't my wife, I wouldn't be where I am.
As they say, between every good man, there's a very special woman, and Lou is special. And he's a lucky guy. They're very compatible. They do a lot of hiking and whatever. They've been hiking around South Africa as well. Don't let them tell you that they've just been looking for places to live. So we wish them the best. And until next week, we hope you've enjoyed the show. Good racing.